The Boston Celtics lost, but there's one thing that happened where if this just keeps being a thing, then this is the biggest win of the season. I'll talk about that. Plus, what the hell happened to Robert Williams? And what happened on that last play? We're going to talk about it all right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you every day with a free, fresh podcast dropped directly to your device if you're a subscriber. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, however you get your podcasts. Locked On Celtics exists there. It also exists on YouTube, where you can watch the show, participate in the comments section, join a growing community of Celtics fans there. I'd love to have you there. I'm John Karalis, former professional basketball player. Now I cover the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've written a book called The Boston Celtics All-Time All-Stars. And on Tuesday, the 21st, it's me, Kendrick Perkins. We're getting together at the Armory in Somerville to discuss his new book, The Education of Kendrick Perkins. Go to the website for the Armory at Somerville. Pick up a ticket. It's $40. You get a book with that. You get to listen to the discussion and participate in the Q&A. So that'll be a fun day there on Tuesday, the 21st. Today, I'm coming to you after the Celtics lose in overtime to the Milwaukee Bucks, 131-125. I say the Celtics is air quotes. The Celtics lost to the Milwaukee Bucks. No Tatum, no Brown, no Smart, no Horford. So 4 of the 5 starters didn't play. The 5th starter, Robert Williams, barely played. So the Celtics went with their starting lineup of Derek White, Sam Hauser, Blake Griffin, Mike Muscala, and Grant Williams. So Rob came off the bench. I'll talk about that in the second segment. They got Pritchard, Brogdon, Luke Cornett off the bench as well. It's just a wild game where 47 minutes for Grant Williams, 43 and almost 44 for Mike Muscala, 43 for Derek White, 39 for Hauser, 39 for Brogdon. Unbelievable minutes being played here by these guys against the normal starting 5 for the Milwaukee Bucks. Holiday, Grayson Allen, Brook Lopez, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Pat Connaughton. But the Celtics had a lead. They had multiple leads. They tied it up. Sam Hauser hits a buzzer beater at the end of regulation. They go into overtime. They had a 5-point lead in overtime. Give up a 6-0 run. Drew Holiday was just outrageous in this one. 8 of 12 from 3. You're never going to see Drew Holiday hit 8 of 12 from 3. But he did in this one, and that's the difference in this game. 40-point performance for Holiday. If they don't get an outlier performance like this from Drew Holiday, the Bucks end up losing this game. No doubt about it. And it took Holiday getting that performance. But hey, look, you know what? He did it, and that's great. Great for him. Bucks win. They're a half game out of first now. The Celtics have one more game against Detroit. That is on Wednesday, back-to-back. The Bucks play on Thursday, so it's possible that the Celtics go into the All-Star break in second place. All right, if that happens, not a big deal. They were in second place earlier this season, and they built up a lead again. We'll see what happens when everybody comes back. Later on in the third segment, I'll talk about the last play of overtime because that seems to be a big discussion. That's the only part of this game I'm really going to break down because I'm not going to break down how all of these guys played together. There's nothing to discuss. These lineups are never going to be seen again. And if they are, then it's, oh my God, emergency, right? There's the only way that this lineup should ever see the floor again is if the Celtics are up or down 40 in a game, or if everyone's resting, hopefully not because everybody's hurt. The good news is they even reported during the game that Smart It's possible Smart's going to play against the Pistons. I would be shocked if he plays against the Pistons. They're talking about hopeful that he plays. I don't see the value in bringing him back for one game before the All-Star break. I just don't get it. But if they value that, if they think there's value to that, then I guess. But this game, it was kind of fun. It was fun to watch Mike Muscala get all these minutes. And early on, he was great. Thought Muscala was good. I thought Grant Williams, the last play notwithstanding, and a lot of people, oh my God, the reactions. Oh my God, the reactions that I saw online to this. And I get people are pissed. Probably the worst part about social media is that in the immediacy of something happening, people just hop on their keyboards and go crazy. Like, people chill out. Take a second, breathe before you start calling Grant Williams names and start screaming stupid stuff. Like, honestly, there are people who say stupid things, and I call them out on Twitter, and they're like, I was just mad. Like, don't tweet while you're mad. You look like an a-hole. Sorry, you just look like a jerk. Stop being jerks on social media, for God's sake. But Grant, I thought, did a great job on Giannis. Giannis ends up with 36 points, but I didn't think this is so wild. This is kind of like Giannis of the playoffs, where I didn't think he dominated this game. He had 36 points, 13 rebounds, 9 assists. It looks like it's like, wow, Giannis had a great game. He had a few good stretches. I just didn't think that Giannis had any sort of takeover modes here, except for like the beginning of the second quarter. But I don't know. I thought the Bucks had their runs, and it was mostly Holiday that was triggering the runs. The best thing that happened for the Celtics was that Brook Lopez got into foul trouble early, and that really opened things up at the rim. And that was the one stretch of good play from Robert Williams. But I thought Grant did a good job on Giannis, generally speaking. I thought we got some good performance from Blake. Sam Hauser was really good. That game-tying buzzer beater, that game-tying shot was huge. I mean, that thing, 2 dribbles pull up in Chris Middleton's face. Let me tell you something. If nothing else, if Sam Hauser confidence in off the dribble shooting is the byproduct of this game, then this is the biggest win of the season. If Sam Hauser comes out of this game feeling like, oh yeah, I can hit these shots, then, oh my God. Yeah, that Sam Hauser shots off the move have been that's just massive for the Celtics. Hey, by the way, today's show is brought to you by PrizePicks. First-time users get a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with the promo code LOCKEDON. That's PrizePicks.com, promo code LOCKEDON. So that alone would be a big enough win for me. But I come out of this, and I know people don't like to hear about moral victories, but I come out of this feeling good. I think the Celtics proved an important point in Milwaukee here. I thought they proved an important point to the Milwaukee Bucks that, hey, when the playoffs come around, you want to leave Sam Hauser alone? You want to dare Sam Hauser? Look what he just did to Chris Middleton. Look at the shot that he just hit. He's capable of hitting a pressure shot. When somebody hits a shot on you like that, I feel like that's something that a guy remembers. That's something that you take with you. So I think that that's something that they'll have to remember. Mike Muscala with that early performance and hitting 7 of 16 and hitting a few 3-pointers there. I think he tailed off at the end because he's never played more than 38 minutes in his career, and he played almost 44 in this one. But Mike Muscala, is that a guy you're going to leave? No. Derek White, picked them apart, 12 assists, 27 and 12. You're going to leave him alone now? No. A lot of the guys that they might be daring to shoot or might have dared to shoot, now they've got firsthand experience of, well, Can't leave this guy. Can't leave that guy. Can't leave that guy. So I feel like the Celtics come out of this game with, okay, you know what? You got us. You got us. But you just remember, we have 4 guys, our top 4 guys that didn't play in this game. So chew on that, Milwaukee. But almost as importantly, they proved to those 4 guys that these guys can do it. As important as it is for Mike Budenholzer to look at this team and go, oh, damn, they got some depth. It's just as important for them to show Tatum and Brown and Smart and Horford, you know what? If you get doubled, you can feel really good about passing it to Sam Hauser. You should pass it to Sam Hauser. He can hit that shot. Mike Muscala's open. Pass it to Mike Muscala. He can make that shot. Pass it to Derek White. He can hit big shots. He can step up in the moment. There's less pressure on Tatum and on Brown to get some of the stuff done on their own. You don't have to play them. You can prove it to Joe. You don't have to play these guys 37, 38, 39 minutes. You don't have to all the time. These guys, the guys that we saw on the floor against Milwaukee for the most part, showed that they can do the job. They showed Milwaukee. They showed the Celtics' own stars. They showed their own teammates. They showed their coach. That, to me, I'll take that. That's a win. That's a win to me. If you're going to sit all these guys out and lose the game, they could have gotten smoked by 40, and there's no redeemable value there. You just say, yeah, missing most of your starters, you get smoked by a really good team. But missing most of your starters and you play like this, and these guys prove that point, sign me up. I think there's a lot of good that can be taken from this game. All right, let's figure out the Rob thing. I don't know what's going on with the Rob thing. We'll talk about that next. First, PrizePicks, fantasy, daily fantasy, done right. Done the right way. Daily fantasy that's not against a bunch of people with high-powered computers, a bunch of computers all lined up with the algorithms and all the other junk that I remember when I first played daily fantasy. It just felt like I could never win. Well, now you can win because it's just you against PrizePicks projections. You're going to score more or less than the projections, you can win. Pick 2 to 6 players, you get them, you can win up to 25 times your money. And there's projections on just about everything that you watch. Seriously, everything. All the major pro sports, college sports, men's and women's, soccer, esports, NASCAR, tennis, Euro basketball, cricket, disc golf. I mean, it's outrageous how many options they have. And you can bet, or you can pick between all the different sports if you want. Mix it up. You can make your picks in 60 seconds or less. Super easy, safe and fast withdrawals, currently operational in over 30 states and Canada. So download PrizePicks, go to prizepicks.com, sign up and play daily fantasy sports. If you're a first-time user, you can get a 100% instant deposit match of up to $100 with the promo code Locked On. So if you deposit 100, you get 100. You deposit 50, PrizePicks gives you 50. You have to enter the promo code Locked On at sign up. That's how you get your instant deposit match of up to $100. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Head on over to Locked On NBA. Wednesday's my day with Jake Madison of Locked On Pelicans. We recorded our show before I recorded this one. Talked about the Celtics, talked about Celtics Bucks, talked about the East and the balance of power in the East after this game in Milwaukee being a half game. It's a half game out of first, like I said. Where do we think things stand in the East? That's all part of the Locked On NBA show. So subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Watch it on YouTube as well. The Robert Williams thing is just weird. I don't understand it. Rob was available, so he's originally questionable with the ankle injury. Okay, sore left ankle. He came off the bench, surprisingly, and he barely played. Played 13 minutes. Now, he comes in the first quarter. Brook Lopez goes to the bench, and Rob comes in. You say, okay, well, maybe Joe's just going with the matchup. Maybe Joe is saying, hey, our best bet with this group of guys is to just go 5 out and jack as many 3-pointers, and hopefully we can put up enough of a volume where if they start to fall, we have a chance. They put up 50 3-pointers, and they hit 17, 34%. It's actually a little bit low. Derek White went 3 of 12, Mike Muscala 3 of 10. So they didn't hit a high enough percentage of shots, but you put up 50, you hit 17, you actually are hanging with the Milwaukee Bucks who hit 18 of 42. You're right there. You're right there. And in fact, the Celtics, where this game was really lost was they were outscored by 11 at the free throw line. So you lose a game by 6, 11 points at the free throw line. There's your difference right there. But they put up enough 3-pointers to kind of hang. So you say, okay, I thought, well, maybe Rob's just sitting because he's not a shooter and they just want to go with shooting here. But after the game, Joe Mazzulla said, no, that's not the case at all. Just decided, just felt like making the change. Jay King, who was there, I wasn't there. Jay King tweeted out the very terse, short quotes from Joe Mazzulla. Why did Joe Mazzulla only play 13? Why did Rob only play 13 minutes? No reason. Was it matchup related? No. He doesn't come off the bench. That's not true. Not. What was the purpose of making the change? Just felt like making it. Now, after the game, I felt like Joe was annoyed. Maybe he was annoyed at himself. And I'll talk about why he might be annoyed with himself in the next segment, because has related to the last play. Maybe he felt like this was a missed opportunity. But whatever it is, first of all, I mean, I've said that I don't mind Joe's attitude in post-game press conferences. This one felt like maybe he was a little too short. I don't know. I can understand being pissed off, but he just, I don't know, it just doesn't sit well with me. But the decisions, he's not leaning into any, he's not leading us giving us any information here. He's not pointing us in any direction with Robert Williams. And then Rob barely plays in the fourth quarter, 3 minutes in the fourth quarter, and the only time he gets onto the floor in overtime was at the very, very end when they needed a rebounder. Robert Williams is too good to be treated that way. So is he hurt? Is the knee bothering him? Is the knee an issue, but also the ankle has been an issue? So they get to say ankle on the injury report, but it's really the knee? I don't think it's the injury, but man, it really raises the question, why would you play him only 13 minutes? If it's not the matchup, if it's not, well, is this just the coach's decision? It just smacks of that you're hiding something. It feels like you're hiding something. There's something that you're not, if you don't want to tell us, then I don't know. Obviously, I'm very confused by this whole Robert Williams thing, because when Joe is giving that short, like quick answers, it's very obvious. He's like, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want, let's talk about something else. Or I don't like the line of questioning. He will give a decent answer if he likes the question, or if I don't know. But this is either he was so pissed off that he didn't want to answer the question, or he's just purposely he's deflecting. Rob seemed okay, but also, I don't know, maybe Rob's just not that explosive. He had one play in there where he got the ball at the rim and kicked it out to Mike Muscala for a 3 when, what was it, Chris Middleton kind of like swiped at the ball, kind of jumped past him and swiped at the ball and was kind of sort of in his area. But Rob just needed to take like one power dribble and go straight up and dunk it. Like, he was literally under the rim. And he kicked it out to Muscala for 3. I mean, maybe he just didn't think that Rob was playing well. Honestly, after the beginning, the first stretch that Rob was in the game, I didn't think Rob was playing well either. Is that all this is? I feel like there should be some answers. I feel like there should be some level of, hey, what really is going on? Now, I wasn't there to ask the questions, and the people who were there asked the questions and got no answers. But maybe it's as simple as everybody needs the All-Star break. Maybe Rob needs the All-Star break too. Maybe he just needs to rest up. And if he does, then don't play him against Detroit. Just sit him against Detroit. Just let him sit. I don't know who's going to play against Detroit. I don't know if Marcus is going to play. I have no idea. They said Jayson Tatum. Now, Brad Stevens did say that they were probably going to rest Jayson Tatum against Detroit, but he didn't make the trip to Milwaukee because of the non-COVID illness, which I feel like he might have given me because I'm sitting here with not feeling my best. So I can attest the non-COVID illnesses that are going around. I do actually have a non-COVID illness right now that I've been in that locker room. So maybe those are actually real and not just excuses to rest guys. So I don't know who's going to play against Detroit, but if there's going to be this issue with Rob, then sit him down too. Don't play him. All right, let's get into this last play. Let's get into what Joe Mazzulla should have done, what Grant Williams should have done, because that was like the big topic of discussion right after the game. We'll do that next. First, today's show also brought to you by Built Bar. I've talked about Built Bar for a long time here on the podcast. I think it's delicious and it's good for you. Basically, you're looking at a protein bar covered in chocolate with flavors like churro, peanut butter, brownie, and coconut almond, but only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, and 17 grams of protein. Generally speaking, that's about what you're going to get in a Built Bar. Now, I like to have them after a workout because it's like a little treat, a little, hey, congratulations, John, you did it. Now here's something that tastes good. That's always great, but I know the 130 calories is not going to blow up my cardio, and I know the 17 grams of protein is going to help me when I'm lifting. It's going to help my muscles build whenever I can't actually build them. But it's not just for a workout. It's grab them in the morning, grab a glass of water, grab a banana and a Built Bar. You get yourself a nice little breakfast there. Put it in your briefcase or your gym bag or your travel bag. If you're on a plane, if you're on a train, if you're on a bus, you get that little pang of hunger. You can feel good about a Built Bar because these macros are really good. And it's going to keep you from stopping at some drive-through or getting some processed food or all that stuff. You can go to Built.com, use the promo code LOCKEDON15. You get 15% off your order. Stock up at Built.com. You can also, if you're in the vicinity of a Walmart, walk into the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box, 4-bar box of cookies and cream or double chocolate or coconut puffs. Do you belong to Sam's Club? 13-bar box right there, brownie batter and churro. Wherever you get them, just get them. You're going to love them. Built Bar. So the Celtics go to overtime against the Bucks. They have a 5-point lead. Then they give up a 6-0 run. Then Brogdon hits 2 free throws. Drew Holiday comes down, hits a 3. It's a 2-point game. 25.2 seconds left. Joe Mazzulla chooses not to call a timeout. Okay, fine. That's Joe Mazzulla's MO. Let's bring it back up. Let's try not to let's see if we can get it, get a good matchup. Maybe we can catch them sleeping, whatever. So with 25 seconds left, they inbound the ball. And nothing happens. You have Derek White going up against Holiday, switching against Grayson Allen. Time is ticking. Tick, tick, tick. Ball finally gets over to Grant Williams. He turns. Giannis Antetokounmpo is there. He fakes. He takes a dribble and starts to drive, loses the ball. Turnover. End of game. What should have happened there? Well, first things first. Okay, I get that Joe Mazzulla doesn't want to call a timeout at first. But once Derek White gets over half court and is met by Holiday, and you saw like right there, I'm like, okay, he's trying to back down Holiday. Holiday just ripped him a couple of plays before. That's kind of what he does. So I'm not feeling entirely comfortable about this. So right there, I might have just said, you know what? I'm going to call a timeout now. I don't like how this is setting up. Okay, fine. Let it go through. He missed. Derek says, I probably should have taken a pull-up. He could have taken a pull-up there. Then he gets into trouble. You can see he's getting into trouble. Sam Hauser's on the floor. He's trying to get something open for Grant Williams. Guys are trying to get open. It's a little chaotic. Right there should have been a timeout. You had one timeout left. Call it. I think that's where you should have called the timeout because it would have been about 15 seconds or so. And while I understand, and Joe Mazzulla after the game admitted he should have called the timeout there. While I understand in a normal circumstance, you say, well, you know what? I want these guys to figure it out. I want these guys to kind of like, you're good. You're NBA players. Figure it out. And that's fine with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart. They should be figuring it out. They should be good enough to work through some of these things. They should be able to, in a situation like that, because of their skill and everything, their continuity and their chemistry, figure things out. However, this wasn't those guys. This was Derek White, Sam Hauser, Mike Muscala, Malcolm Brogdon, Grant Williams. That's a group that's not going to be on the floor anymore for the Celtics. That group should never be on the floor again for the Celtics. Like I said before, unless crazy things have happened. You don't want that team on the floor in that kind of situation. That's not who your regular guys are. You got one guy who's been a Celtic for a week and who has played at that point 43 minutes. He's tired. He's trying to figure things out. You got guys who've played way over their normal minutes. You got Sam Hauser, who just a couple weeks ago was getting DNPs. Non-drafted player in his second year. That's not a guy that you're going to have out there to figure it out. Call a timeout. This group of guys, the situation just demands that you call a timeout there. Because that's a group that needs to be settled. That's a group that you want to say, okay, you haven't played together, so you can't read one another. It's not like Jaylen and Jayson and Smart and Horford and Rob. You've been through things before, and Smart can be like, you know what? Boom, here's this play. Let's run it. Boom. And everybody says, okay, calm down. We're going to go run this play. No. This is a situation where these guys need somebody to come around and say, all right, here's how we're going to do this. We're going to call this play. The calmness comes in knowing what you're supposed to do. The franticness comes in when you don't know what the hell you're supposed to do. So that definitely was a position where Joe should have called a timeout. And it doesn't matter that who these guys were on the floor. That's a situation where the translatable thing is, Joe, read the game, understand what's happening here in the last seconds, and react to it. Because if these two teams play again in the conference finals, because that's where they're going to probably end up, you're going to have to figure this out. The coach is part of the team. The coach is part of the team. The players go out there and win the game on the floor, but the coach can call a timeout, can make a sub, can call a play, can draw some things up. The coach has an impact. Maybe not as much of an impact as they do in college, but they have an impact. Understand the situation. Read the late game situation, and don't be so rigid. when it comes to I need to call a timeout or I let these guys play. He's learning. He's figuring it out. That's a play. That's a spot where probably should have called a timeout. Grant Williams. A lot of people getting on Grant Williams on Twitter after the game, saying he should have shot that. After the game, he said he should have shot that. I don't believe him. I understand why he didn't shoot that. He starts the play out. He's standing in the corner. Now, picture yourself standing in the corner. You're watching this unfold, right? You've set up in the right corner. You got Giannis Antetokounmpo defending you. So standing there, you know, Giannis is my defender. Here comes, Derek. Okay. Sam's going to set a pin down for me. I'm coming up. I still know I've got Giannis as my defender. I of course, I'm going to turn and hesitate because Giannis is a former defensive player of the year and a perennial defensive player of the year candidate. When I catch and turn, I kind of want to see where the hell Greek Freak defensive player of the year candidate is. That's what makes him so special. Because a guy in the corner, when he comes up and catches the ball and turns and looks, I'm looking to see how close this dude is. Yeah, he could have turned and fired and let it fly. I think Giannis would have blocked that. I think Giannis could have blocked that. So I don't think that's a shot that he should have just blanket. Everybody says, oh, he should have taken that. Like, I don't think that's realistic. Understand the situation. I am not going to catch and turn and just fire with Giannis on me. Now, if I knew Grayson Allen was on me, if I knew maybe even Chris Middleton or Drew Holiday or anybody else that was of similar size, and I say, you know what? I feel like I can catch and turn and shoot without that person closing in on me. But with Giannis, he's big, he's long, he's athletic. We've seen him block crazy, crazy shots. So no, I don't think that Grant Williams, I don't think it's a given that he should have taken that shot, no matter what he says, because I think he's just trying to be a good teammate. Derek White says he should have taken the pull-up. Everybody at the end will say, no, you know what? That's on me. Those are good teammates. Joe says I should have called a timeout. Those guys say they should have shot the ball. I'm sure if you asked Mike Muscala, he probably would have said, I could have set a pick. It's everybody can say something, and that's great. You want to be a good teammate, that's great. But the fact is that Grant, at that point, no. Shooting that ball, no. No. I get it. I totally get it. Now, making the play, maybe he could be more decisive, maybe a little less dancing. His foot did slip out from under him. So there's I don't know what he could have done there. His foot just slipped. But he could have been more decisive about that play. But at that point, I really feel like we should have been in timeout territory anyway. So that play should have gone much, much, much differently. I'm not going to go too crazy about it. I think it's yes, they could have done a lot of things better. They had mistakes that they could have changed. Everybody's responsible when something like that happens. But ultimately, like I said at the beginning, I'm cool with this game. I'm cool with the way things went. It's fine. The fact that it was this close, the fact that they did this good a job against Milwaukee with so many guys out, makes me feel like when all those guys are back, you have just a lot more you can depend on, more options. And I think it tells the Bucks, hey, this is an even better Celtics team than you faced last year in the playoffs. I'll be back after the Detroit Pistons game for the last post-game show of the pre-All-Star section. I will have another podcast for the Friday show. So make sure you are subscribed wherever you get your podcasts. I'll be back next week. All-Star break is over after that, but I will be back next week for a full week of podcasts as well. So subscribe, get this directly to your device. You could also watch the show on YouTube. Hop into the comment section there. Have some fun and share the podcast. Tell your friends and family they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.